We are rocking and rolling here on the Chiefs Report, getting over 5,600 subscribers in the regular season. And already in the postseason, we have 2,100. And since that AFC Championship game, 944 subscribers. Well, guess what? I want you to hit that subscribe button because the bosses challenged me. They said, we don't think you can get as many subs as you did in the postseason and double that and get it to 4,000. So I want for this next Super Bowl week to absolutely explode. Hit that subscribe button because we have so much coming to you right here on the Chiefs Report. You want to know what it is? Well, we get informative and entertaining content. We have Super Bowl coverage coming for you all week next week, plus breaking news right away right here on the Chiefs Report. Plus, we have a great Chiefs community. Make sure you're here. Make sure you're subscribed because if you're in it, subscribed, you're in alive. We have injury news to get here on the Chiefs Report, so let's get rolling. Appreciate you hanging out with me today. I'm your host, Jay Sanders, and the two topics we're going to go through is the latest on Joe Thuney as he potentially could be playing in the Super Bowl. We give you all that Andy Reid talked about, plus Charles Omenihu, obviously out with his ACL tear. Well, Coach Spags today talked to the media and was asked, what's the plan? He gave us a little bit of an insight into what he could see happening, all right here on the Chiefs Report. Let's start with Joe Thuney and what exactly is going on. So here's what we have to now. He strained his pec in the Chiefs versus Bills game in the AFC Divisional round. Some doctors now are saying it was a torn pec, which would keep him out of the Super Bowl. But Reid did end up talking about this in yesterday's press conference, and, well, it was a little bit of a positive reminder. Now, Thuney has been one of the best guards in the league for pretty much his entire career, playing with the Patriots early, now coming with the Chiefs. He has been one of those guys that has just always been on a good team and has always been a good guard. The problem is you really want to have him in the Super Bowl just because all-pro, dude knows how to protect Mahomes, you would like him. Andy Reid said this about him yesterday. It's coming from Nate Taylor saying, Andy Reid, that he's making progress and that he's not counting him out of the Super Bowl just yet. That's good news. Now, I'm not going to get my hopes up because I know that there's a lot of things, but I do want to mention one thing that actually does get my hopes up and makes me think he will play. The Chiefs released an injury report today. And in that injury report, they had to give what would be their expectation for next Sunday, the Super Bowl. They listed Joe Thuney as questionable. That would be what they would list him as right now for the Super Bowl 58. That's outstanding news. That just means when they get to Vegas next week, if he starts practicing, there's a shot we could see him wearing the red on Sunday in Vegas. I would love to see that because this year, he's been, as per usual, one of the best guards on the Chiefs' offensive line. Don't believe me? Well, let's take a look at his stats. Over 1,000 snaps. And he allowed just 2 snaps. Think about that. Think about that real quick. 1,096 snaps. Only 2 of those snaps has he allowed a sack. His PFF grade sits at 74.3. His pass blocking rate is even higher than that. And important to some, most likely Nick Bosa and anybody who always wants to complain about penalties for the Chiefs, he only has 2 penalties. Pretty dang good. The hope from Andy Reid is that he will be able to play come Super Bowl Sunday. Whether that is actually going to be a viable option, we don't know just yet. But again, the big news today, he is listed as questionable. The fact that some people are saying it's a fully torn pec and he's listed as questionable makes me have hope that Thuney is doing everything in his hands to play on Super Bowl Sunday. So here's the hope. I do have a question, though. Thuney, no Thuney. Will the Chiefs allow a sack in Super Bowl 58 versus the 49ers? I want you to let me know in the comment section down below. Type Y for yes if you think they will allow a sack. Type N for no. I'm curious to see what you think. I may come back to this and maybe check out to see who was right and who was wrong. Y for yes if the Chiefs allow a sack. N if you don't think they will. Let's talk about the sacks because ultimately in the postseason, especially the last 2 years, Mahomes has been kept upright for the majority of times. Obviously, in 2018, 8 sacks. That was his rookie year, and ultimately, it was a rookie year. Let's just say that. 2019, 6 sacks. 2020, 4 sacks. And then 2021, 9 sacks. A lot of those coming in the Super Bowl. We're not going to talk about that Tampa Bay game. 2022, you had the 3 sacks, and then this year only 2 sacks in the postseason. So combined, he's only been sacked 5 times in the past 2 seasons. By the way, 2 sacks this year, both of them coming against the Ravens. Now, if we compare this defensive line to what they're going to face in the Super Bowl, the Niners, they rank 6th in the league in sacks allowed. Sacks this year. Chiefs obviously at second place, 57. Niners at 48. So this defensive line is going to be a pretty good one, but honestly, these are really good defensive lines. 2 great defensive lines. You got Nick Bosa. You have George Karlaftis. You've got Chris Jones. I think overall, I would take the Chiefs defensive line over the San Francisco 49ers in a lot of different ways. And plus, our defensive line doesn't complain about holding before the game even happened. Have you heard about what Nick Bosa said, how he talked about, he was asked basically, hey, what do you see out of the Chiefs offensive line? And all he said was, oh, they hold a lot. And then they asked one of the owners for the Niners, hey, what do you remember about Super Bowl 54 against the Chiefs? And he goes, I remember Nick Bosa was held. Get that out of your mind. I'm tired of this people freaking being petty, but we'll tell you what. I'm not tired of PrizePicks. I've been playing it every single week of the NFL season, and I get to play it for another week with the Chiefs being in the Super Bowl. You can get a $100 deposit match by going to prizepicks.com/CLNS and using the code CLNS. I'm telling you, you're not going to regret it. PrizePicks is a skill-based, real money daily fantasy sports game, and the great part is it's not just the NFL. They got NBA, MLB, NHL, all you can want and more. And my picks for Super Bowl 58, well, let's just say you're going to want to put them in because I'm 6 of my last 8. I got more on passing yards for Patrick Mahomes. All he has to do is pass for 1 yard. A little special deal there from PrizePicks for Super Bowl 58. Isaiah Pacheco, more than half a rushing touchdown or receiving touchdown. All he has to do is score 1. I'm pretty confident in that. And then Christian McCaffrey, the Chiefs have a lot of yards to receiving backs. I'm going the more on his stat line as well. PrizePicks also offers a reboot policy so that even if one of those players gets injured in the first half and then does not return in the second half, guess what? That player is going to be rebooted, and PrizePicks will reboot that entire thing. They're the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. Now, quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types. That's what makes PrizePicks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use the code CLNS for a first deposit match of up to $100. Shout out to PrizePicks. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. Let's say Thuney can't play. Who's the next guy up? That'd be Nick Allegretti, who, funny enough, started in Super Bowl 55 against those Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, we all remember how that game went and how bad that offensive line was. But maybe he was a little bit of a bright spot? Well, let's look at it. He allowed 7 pressures. Not the greatest. But again, that line was just a complete crapshoot the entire game, so let's just not talk about it. Fun fact, though, he allowed a team high in the AFC Championship game, and not only pressures, but he also allowed one of the 2 sacks. By the way, Patrick Mahomes hadn't been sacked against the Dolphins or the Bills. Now, the fun fact about that, he had the highest PFF grade out of any Chiefs offensive line member in the AFC Championship game. Kind of wild. Team high in pressures, allowed a sack, yet his PFF grade was high up there. Listen, I trust in Nick Allegretti. Obviously, I want Thuney out there. All pro, you're going to choose him every day. But Nick Allegretti came up big, and honestly, he was pretty happy about it, and he wants to be playing. So if we have to go with Allegretti, I got faith in him all day. Omenihu, though, will not be playing in Super Bowl 58. So the question is, who's going to replace him? Who's going to play in that spot? Who's going to be that depth role that Omenihu kind of created? Well, we kind of been talking about this a lot. Talked about some potential signees that are still an option. But we might have gotten a little bit of an answer from Coach Spags today. He was asked by the media, hey, what's going to happen? With Omenihu out, what's kind of the plan? He said, well, we're going to lean a lot more on our depth. And, we'll kind of see how that works with us. Maybe bring somebody in. But he mentioned somebody in particular. That'd be Chiefs' first-round pick, Felix Anudike-Uzomah. The guy out of Kansas State who has not seen the field that much, and honestly, just because he hasn't been needed. There's been no point to. Overall, he has looked good when he's been on the field. Now, this comes from Pete Sweeney, this entire report, as what Coach Spags mentioned. As said, he mentioned first-round rookie Felix Anudike-Uzomah among those who will have to step in with Charles Omenihu unavailable for the Super Bowl. What exactly did he say, though? Here's the official quote from Coach Spags. We feel real confident with where Felix is. It wasn't a reflection on what Felix was doing or not doing, but the other guys were doing pretty good. That's exactly what I've been saying this entire year. It's not that Felix hasn't played good when he's been on the field. It's the fact that everybody else above him have been playing amazing. I mean, you're not going to beat out Mike Dana, who's having a really career year, to be quite honest with you. You're not going to beat out George Karlaftis, who has 10.5 sacks, matching Chris Jones for the most on the team. And Charles Omenihu, when he got back after a 6-game suspension, was balling out 7 sacks in 11 games. Ultimately, the Chiefs wanted FAU. They like FAU. But he just wasn't fitting into this team just yet. We did get a good look at him, though, in Week 18 versus the Los Angeles Chargers. Obviously, Omenihu not playing, Karlaftis not playing, keeping everybody for rest, given the Chiefs were locked into their seat already. And guess what? He played well. He played well. Had a couple of tackles, was all around the ball. And I think that is the bigger sign of what a player is going to be able to do when he is asked of, is where are you around the ball? We talk about Nick Bolton. We talk about Willie Gay. They might not always have the tackle numbers, but they're always around the football. FAU has a knack for that. And in college, man, this guy was a beast. Almost 20 sacks in 2 seasons, just under 100 tackles, 25.5 tackles for loss. 25.5 in 26 games. This guy had a tackle for loss per game. And then 8 forced fumbles, which he already has 1 this year, that one being all the way back in Week 2 against the Jaguars. So I'm telling you, unsung heroes have kind of had a way to really pop their way into the Chiefs. What if FAU makes a big sack? What if FAU forces a fumble and a big opportunity in the Super Bowl? I wouldn't be surprised. Do you trust this rookie? I want you to give me the confidence level you would have in FAU if he were to have a role in Super Bowl 58. Give me a scale here, 1 being least confident in FAU, 10 being most confident. I'm very curious to see what Chiefs Kingdom feels like. Scale it from 1 to 10. How confident are you in Felix Anudike-Uzomah? We appreciate you hanging out with us, and we'll keep you updated with Thuney and every single other injury report as we now head into Super Bowl week coming up this upcoming week, where we'll have interviews and everything. As Sam going out to Vegas, getting some live content. We'll have it all right here, so hit that subscribe button. As always, Chiefs Kingdom, peace out.